when you get people together, that's when magic happens. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. Several times in my life, one connection has completely changed my trajectory of my life.
How much money did you make last month?
Yeah, so I made a little over $40,000 cash collected. I had started multiple other business ventures, all which pretty much failed. And I was just like, okay, well, let's just see what happens. I spent this money on ads. Let's see if any of these people buy tickets. And yeah, man, sold like 127 tickets. The podcast is such an easy way to build a relationship with the types of people that you want to meet.
I don't really want to be doing brand deals. You know, I don't want to be somebody else's puppet.
Yeah.
I want to be able to sell my own products and elevate my own brand and my own service.
Exactly. I am a believer in paying people to help save you time as a means to making money faster and getting to where you want to be faster. Yeah, people that are not entrepreneurs are less likely to invest in themselves. The more I invest in myself, the easier I can make it seem for other people. So just advice for anybody selling is know exactly what you're selling. Know the ins and outs of that offer and how that offer can specifically help people get results.
Sometimes it's enough in one book to grow your business to 7 figures, but you don't implement any of it. You kind of like take 1 or 2 lines of it, which is good also.
Yeah.
But sometimes like going back and like really extracting all of that data and then focusing on implementing it is a really powerful strategy.
You are enough when you are actively trying to do your best to show up for yourself every single day. The more action I take in my life, the more things become clear around where I want to go and how I should do certain things.
Welcome back to another amazing episode of the A-Lister Show. On this show, we bring in movers and shakers, people doing interesting things. And today, I have a very special guest, the one and only Mr. Alec Mountain. He specializes in event marketing, helping people grow their businesses and scale their companies through a unique method that hardly anybody is doing. Tonight is a special night because I'm going to go visit his event tonight as well and check it all out in firsthand. So we have Alec here. We're going to dive right into it.
What up? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for making the trip down here. Now, the first question, I want to kick it off. The question on everybody's mind.
Yeah.
Are the glasses prescription or are they for looks?
Oh, such a great question. So here's the thing. I don't need glasses to see well. But the reality is that these are prescription glasses. Okay. I see slightly better. It's a very light prescription. It's like -1 strength. So it's like practically nothing. I don't need the prescription in there, but I felt like, hey, if I'm wearing glasses all the time, I might as well have it. And I do see slightly better. I don't have 20/20 vision. Okay. It's close, but yeah, the glasses are a prescription.
Yeah, so I just, I love it because it's really part of your brand now, right? People see, oh yeah, the glasses guy, like it fits.
It's funny you say that because like, everybody, when people are seeing my ads all over social media and stuff like that, they associate me with the pink glasses. So like if I go out and I don't wear the glasses, I'll be less recognized than if I do wear the glasses.
Yeah.
So I'm more likely to be recognized if I wear the glasses because people associate that so much with my brand.
Yeah.
So it all kind of just depends. But yeah, it's... glasses are a cool way to, you know, distinguish your personal brand as far as, you know, a look and feel of what you want to give off. To me, it's playful, but it's also kind of sophisticated and stuff like that. So
yeah. Well, and that's really what it comes down to in branding, right? You have a lot of people that have something characteristic about themselves that they can be easily remembered by.
Exactly.
And for you, another one is like, for a while, for me, you were the Hey San Diego guy. Because I kept seeing your ads and it was always, hey, San Diego.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I'm the Hey San Diego guy, you know, starting this year. In Orange County, when I started, I was Hey Orange County. Yeah. In LA, where I'm running the ads, I'm the Hey Los Angeles person, you know? Sure. So it just depends on where you are, which is what ads you're going to see.
Absolutely. So let's get right into it. I want to ask you off the bat, how much money did you make last month?
Yeah, so I made a little over $40,000 cash collected.
Wow, 40,000. And how much of that was actual profit?
Yeah, about 85%. It's a pretty high margin business.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. What is it that you actually do?
Yeah, so what I do now specifically is much more niche than I've ever done in the past. So when I started my journey, I started an advertising agency a little over 6 years ago. I ran basically Facebook and Instagram ads for all kinds of businesses doing all kinds of different things. Nowadays, I'm specifically focused on helping my clients build out local events related to their niche and market and helping them get clients that way through events and marketing those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So somebody wants to grow their business. They have so many different ways to do it. Instagram, Facebook marketing, ads, Google. But one way would be to get a bunch of people in a room and talk to them about your services. And that's kind of what you help people do. Is that right?
In a way. So it's really based around building a community, a local community that's aligned with who you are as a person and the value of your business. So it's more so about building a community related to what you're doing. And then as the leader of that community, there's obviously room to pitch and let everybody know what you're doing. But the emphasis is more around creating events related to what you do for a living and then having some kind of offering that's clear to them if they want to take another step and need that support to work with somebody, like the person running the community. Yeah.
Yeah. So like tonight, you have an event.
Correct.
San Diego Startups and Growth. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be there. I'm really excited to check it out.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. To see what it's like firsthand because I see your ads all over the place.
Yeah.
You're obviously crushing it all over social media and on these with these events. So what's the event tonight going to be like? What can I expect?
Yeah, so really what these events are most of these events that I'm doing are just bringing a bunch of entrepreneurs together. That's the main value of why you attend the event is basically every place that I've been to in Southern California, there's a need for more connection. Yeah. People want to connect with like-minded people that share the same interests in all areas of life. And I've just found that, hey, the entrepreneur journey is lonely. And there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that want to connect with other entrepreneurs, either peer-to-peer or they're looking for somebody that can help them, a co-founder, whatever it might be. So there's always a demand for really great networking events, because a lot of people, they're at home or they're not as social or they're just not finding the right events that are helping them connect with more of the right people. And I believe that relationships are the strongest currency. Yeah. If you can meet more of the right kinds of people, that will expand your life in all areas, no matter, what you're focused on. So the events that I'm doing, primarily the formula that I follow is I just get everybody in a room. It's called, the SD Startups and Growth Spring Party tonight, right? So we're going to a really awesome venue, top floor, Simone Apartments, amazing space. And we're just bringing a bunch of people together. So it's just kind of like a mixer where people are going to meet and see what everybody else is doing in business and find room to either make friends, collaborate, or what that might be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you get people together, that's when magic happens. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I've been preaching that as part of my message, like several times in my life, one connection has completely changed my trajectory of my life. Yeah. A lot of those people I met through events, right? So that's part of what I'm so passionate about because I know, hey, outside of the people that I meet and the clients I'll potentially get, it's, hey, I'm helping all these other people make friends, connections, and all that. And I've seen many people find their co-founder at my events or, a business partner or a client or what that might be, or just a really good friend. Yeah. So, that's what it's all about. It's all about bringing people together that have similar mindset, interests, that sort of thing. That's how you kind of meet your people. Yeah. And I'm helping to curate those kinds of experiences for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Take us back to your first event.
Aha, okay.
Why did you do your first event? And how did it go? Was it a complete disaster? Was it a huge success?
Yeah, interesting question. So my very first, we'll break down two different first events. I'll talk about the first event I ever did, and then the first event that I did when I moved to Southern California. Because I was at very different stages of my life doing very different things. Okay, so back when I had just turned 21, I'm 26 now, but back when I turned 21, I was super interested in this topic of personal branding. And I wanted to host an event around personal branding. And I wanted to talk and be on stage about personal branding and give a presentation, to a group of people. Yeah. And at that time, I'm just some 21-year-old kid that basically just started my business, 6 months prior. So nobody was giving me an opportunity to speak, right? So I was I'm just going to create my own event built around personal branding. And I'm going to bring a bunch of people that are interested in personal branding. And I'm going to give a presentation on personal branding. And I'm going to have speakers at the event. So what I did is I just created a meetup on meetup.com. That's where it all started for me. It was this personal brand meetup, and I had about 30 people come out. It was a free event, and I gave a presentation on stage that I have recorded on YouTube to this day.
Nice.
And it was called Building a Strong Personal Brand in 2019. That was
Okay.
the event. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So basically, I was just like, I'm going to prepare a presentation. So it's going to be a presentation of me talking for like 25 minutes, and then I'm going to have a panel afterwards. And yeah, I just put it together, got the venue, and just started promoting it on Meetup. Like I said, got about 30 people come out. And it was cool because that was the first time I had ever publicly spoken.
First time.
Yeah, and that was cool because
Wow.
it was my own event,
Yeah.
you know? So it was awesome. And I had a few connects with a few other people that were building their personal brand. And at the time, were kind of big on LinkedIn, and they were in Seattle. So like, yo, come speak at my event. And they did. And that's really where it all started for me. But the model was a lot different than back then than it is now. I think you'd find the story more interesting about how I got started in Southern California. So should I lean into that?
Please.
Okay, so the story is I moved to Los Angeles, California, about 2 years ago on the dot. Yeah, it was either late April or early May of 2022. And LA wasn't my scene, but long story short, I found myself in Orange County, Irvine. And this was I moved to Irvine in August of 2022. I didn't know anybody. I did a little bit of traveling, and then I came back in October of 2022. And I was like, I don't know anybody here. And at that time, I had started multiple other business ventures, all which pretty much failed. And I was like, yo, I got to start selling advertising services again, you know? And I was like, what's the best way to get clients? It's to meet more of the right people. Well, how about I just put on events like I've sort of done in the past as a way to get clients and just see how that works? Or at least I'm just going to build my network. You know, there's nothing that I can really lose by doing that.
Yeah.
So what I did was I put out a video ad. Okay, let's go back a little bit. So I moved to Denver a year before. And I started in Denver not knowing anybody either. And I was like, I'm going to run Facebook ads for people that kind of just want to socialize and party.
Yeah.
So it started off kind of in the nightlife niche,
Okay.
which is kind of funny.
Okay.
I didn't put my face on an ad or anything, but I basically just ran ads to build an email list and a text message list.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, these are when my next events are going to be. And I just did a bunch of free events in Denver at hotel bars and nightclubs and stuff like that. It was nothing crazy, but I was like, okay, I know how to build an audience from scratch using Facebook ads and get a bunch of people in the room.
Yeah.
Because before I had just relied on my connections that I had. But it's not very scalable just shaking hands with 100 people or 500 people, right? So in Denver, I figured out the model of I can run ads to get people in a room for an event. The issue in Denver was that, one, I didn't charge for tickets, so there was no business model. I was just losing money. And also, it's just I didn't feel connected from a value standpoint with the people that I was around, because it was just hey, there's going to be, food and alcohol at this event. Come hang out on a Thursday night or whatever. And I just didn't feel like I met people that I would consider like-minded. Mm-hmm. But that's because the values element was lacking.
Right.
So fast forward, I moved to LA back in
2 years ago.
2 years ago. And then it's October 2022. I'm in Irvine, and I'm like, okay, I really need to grow my business right now. I really need some clients, because I'm basically at zero at this point, because I just kind of fucked around, did a lot of other offers and businesses, none of which worked. And I'm like, okay, I need to meet clients. I need to get some business. And also, let me try that thing I did in Denver, but instead of just making it nightlife oriented or whatever it might be, let's actually build an entrepreneur community.
Yeah.
Those are the types of people that I really want to meet. And so the situation was that, and also I was going to put a face to it too. Mm-hmm. I was going to do a video ad like the one that you've seen, right? So it was a very similar funnel as I did in Denver, but it was more positioned towards entrepreneurship, stronger values, and I put a face to it. And I was like, I'm just going to, put this money on a credit card and see what happens, right? So I was running $30 a day ad, and dude, the first day, I spent like $30 and I got like 30 contacts.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, like
All local?
all local.
Wow.
So I was like, I think I have something here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot, and I was getting a lot of followers on Instagram within the first day or the first week. Like people that worked with well-known influencers were reaching out to me, all that kind of stuff. Like I think I have something here. So I'm just gonna continue to run this. And I think prior to that first event in Southern California, which was January of 2023, I had spent maybe like $1,500 on ads. And I might have gotten like 700 email contacts and however many text numbers or however many phone numbers. And I remember it was the very beginning of January. I lined up the venue and I was just like, okay, well, let's just see what happens. I spent this money on ads. Let's see if any of these people buy tickets. I was initially going to do a free event out of fear. But I had a couple people urging me, just charge something like $15, $20 or something like that. You'll get a higher quality of people. It'll help pay for your expenses, all of that, which is definitely a message I preach today. And I was just like, let's see if this money that I spent on ads will translate into ticket sales and maybe clients. And yeah, man, first event, I promoted it like 10 days out. Sold like 127 tickets to that event. To date, it was the most I've ever sold at an event. Granted, it's kind of like the least I ever made from an event because I charged like $15 or $10 for tickets or something like that. Yeah. But that was like proof of concept. Yeah. I remember getting like, it was like 100 plus people in this room and it was just packed. Wow. And I was like, holy shit, like there's something here. Yeah. You know? So continued to run the ads. And I actually, from that first event, I actually didn't lose any money. Perfect. And I had that contact list still, you know? And that's been my whole model, which is continue to invest in ads, do events every month, or now it's like twice a month because I'm doing them in different areas and stuff like that, and get clients from it. At the time, like before like 6 months ago, I was selling all kinds of things. I was selling personal brand coaching because I had been coaching before. I was selling ad services, websites, video content like this, everything. But I kept doing these events, getting lots of clients out of it. And I was like, wait a second. I think what I can do with these events and how I've been able to scale it, make it profitable, I can help other business owners with. So that's when late last year it became my main offer. So that's a long answer, but that's kind of the backstory.
Yeah. What were some of the biggest mistakes you made on that first one? So you mentioned not charging. Are there some other ones that you remember?
Like before Southern California?
Anything you can remember that
in Southern California, it was a good idea to charge. So I'm happy about that. Looking back, I probably could have charged more because I don't think I ever want to sell 127 tickets to an event because that's just like crazy.
It's a big event.
Yeah, I'd rather just have less people but have it be a higher quality and still make the same amount in ticket sales.
Right.
Whether you sell your ticket for 25 and you get 100 people, you're going to make the same amount of money whether you charge 50 and get half that.
Right.
Right? And it's going to bring a quality crowd. But that's not even like, I would say, a mistake or anything like that. That's just like all about learning. I would say something that I wish I would have done sooner is continued to build my personal brand back when I was 21. Yeah. Should have continued to do more events, bring people together, find opportunities, that sort of thing. Because that's the thing, like if I would have continued to be on that momentum, I would be in a very different place right now. Granted, the pandemic happened and all that, events would have shut down anyway. So I feel like everything is God's plan and everything worked out the way that it did. But if I'm thinking about like those first few events, like what were the mistakes that I made? Honestly, not very many.
That's good.
The thing that it took me 4 or 5 events to do was really figure out how to sell on stage.
Yeah.
That was the most challenging thing. And I remember my second event back in February of 2023. I had a bunch of speakers on the panel. And my offer, like after the panel, it just didn't really hit in the way that I wanted. And I had this guy on my panel named Vito Glazers. I don't know if you've heard of him.
I don't think so.
But he's an influencer out of LA. He has like a really good PR company, all that. And I just saw the way he pitched on stage. I was like, oh, this was so much better. Here it is, my event. And the guy that's on the panel is doing like one hell of a pitch better than I am, right? So it's like, dang, like I really want to improve. So then I worked with him, and I had some of my own ideas to figure out how can I make my own pitch better and all of that. How can I sell better from the stage? And what does that look like? And what I realized after, I think it was my fourth event, which is when I really nailed it. Because keep in mind, we're talking about this because events are not a significant business. It's what comes out of the events, the clients that you get from it, right? So the first event, I didn't even have a pitch. I just said, hey guys, I have this advertising agency, whatever. If you need help, hit me up. The second event, I had a pitch. It was like a personal brand workshop. And it was like $250 or something like that. And I sold like 2 of them or something. And I was like, okay, I can't do a workshop with 2 people. So I just converted those into like coaching sessions. But then on the third one, I was like, well, what if I do a free training? What if I promote a free training at my event and tell them to DM me on Instagram? Sure, got a lot of people, but those were like hard to convert into anything. And then by event number 4, I was like, I have this idea. What if I do like a $99 consultation? Maybe that will work. And at the time, I was just selling everything still. But I was just like, hey, if you need help with your personal brand, you need help running ads, you need blah, 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 whatever you need, just book this $99 consultation with me. And the pitch is basically like, normally it's $500 for this hour-long session, but because you attended this event tonight, it's only $99. There's only 10 spots available, and the offer expires tonight, so you're going to want to take me up on this. And that's a super powerful way to get very highly qualified sales calls. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I was selling everything, so some people, the point was just get them on a call and then sell them whenever I thought was relevant. Right? So it was like, okay, you need a website, cool. You need Instagram Reels, cool. You need Facebook ad management. You need personal brand coaching, whatever it might be, right? So it took me a little bit of time to figure out how to sell and get clients from it. But nowadays, like for the last several events, I've gotten new clients from every event that I've done. But as far as like mistakes, there's things like from an efficiency standpoint that I feel like I could have done better as far as maybe spend some more time setting up the event, I don't know, maybe it's just the way that the event flows. But as far as I feel like I haven't made that many mistakes, knock on wood, like everything's been pretty smooth. It's just been about how can I make them more efficient? How can I make my life easier? And how can I get more out of them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, Gary Vee is a big proponent of this, where he talks about one of the reasons why you should be your own have a podcast is because it's basically like you're hosting the party.
Yeah.
Right? Like the host of the party was always like the cool one.
Yeah.
It's always cool to show up to a party, but the host was always like, the one that was making things happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So podcasting, that was one of the reasons why I kind of got the podcasting, because it's a cool way to get people in and meet people and come to my party.
It's amazing.
And events are the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Very similar.
Are you into podcasting? What's your relationship with podcasts?
Yeah, I have a podcast actually. I brought back the podcast this year because, to be honest, I get a lot of clients in Southern California, but I also want clients outside of California, So I wanted a strategy of how can I get more of the right kinds of people, how can I get more interest from people outside the area? So I thought who do I really want to work with? And that's really evolved. Yeah. But I was like, hey, maybe 7-figure advertising agency owners would be a good fit because they sell something valuable, which means if they were to do events, they could probably get an ROI from it. Secondly, if you're already doing that well, money won't be a concern. You can hire me, no problem. So my philosophy was, hey, I'm going to bring back my podcast and I'm going to interview 7-figure agency owners.
Yeah.
So that was the thing. And here's the reality of starting a podcast is it's an easy way to get a conversation with a high level person because you're providing value. Hey, be on my show, that sort of thing. Right. So these people that just say, hey, can I take you out to coffee and pick your brain? No, generally not, unless I have a bunch of free time and I just want to help you. But an easy way to have a conversation with somebody that you really want to build a relationship with, whether it's personal or just to potentially get as a client, is invite them to be on your podcast. They're more than likely to say yes. And so that's the thing, when you have these types of people on your podcast, be an engaging interviewer like you are, and have a great conversation. And that person that you're interviewing is immediately going to be more curious about you after the interview. And that's just what I found. I've had so many interviews, interviewed so many great people, and they're all very curious about me and what I'm working on, and they want to build a relationship.
Yeah. I interviewed a guy recently. His next podcast is going to go up pretty soon.
Yeah.
His name is Brendan Boyd. Shout out to Brendan Boyd. His whole thing is podcasts, like helping you build a podcast, grow a podcast, and then monetize your podcast.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's been really cool too. And he has a very similar type of philosophy. But for me, it's been just life changing. Like like you said, I mean, I'm able to get people on in some kind of value exchange. Like I'm not asking people for time. I'm providing like, hey, you get to come on, be part of the show, get some great content out of it.
Exactly.
I get to feature you as the star, and then and then we build a relationship. And I've already gotten so many amazing relationships through people. And I highly recommend, if anybody's thinking about something, get started on a podcast. It doesn't have to be a fancy production to start. My first ones were over Zoom type interviews.
Yeah.
I don't like those. They're not nearly as engaging, not nearly as fun, not nearly as nice to watch as these ones.
Yeah.
But highly recommend it.
Yeah, when I brought back my podcast earlier this year, I just did them over Zoom.
Yeah.
And then I learned that I could use my DSLR as a camera over Zoom. So at least my part looks high quality, and I think the podcast is really just a great networking tool. Don't do it because, hey, I need to get some amazing looking content. It's just like the podcast is such an easy way to build a relationship with the types of people that you want to meet.
Yeah.
So like you think about, hey, for your business, who are the types of people that I want to work with, right? Interview the CEOs of those companies on your podcast.
Yeah.
Have a genuine conversation, and at the end, they're going to be very curious more about you and potentially might want to work with you.
Exactly.
So that's the main thing. I see it more as a networking tool as compared to like, oh, I'm trying, like in my mind, like a profitable podcast in my mind is like I've been able to get clients out of it. Not so like, hey, I'm doing brand deals or I'm making money in that sense.
Yeah.
Some podcasts are able to do that, but that's like a very long-term game.
And you don't really want to be I don't really want to be doing brand deals. I know like all the big ones do it. My wife was telling me about, she's watching some big one. I'm not going to say his name, but he's every like 5 minutes they have another brand deal. It's like, oh, is your hair falling out? Oh, do you have back pain?
Yeah.
Oh, do you have like diarrhea? It's like, I don't want to hawk products. I don't want to be somebody else's puppet.
Yeah.
I want to be able to sell my own products and elevate my own brand and my own service.
Exactly. Yeah, because you have something to sell.
Yeah, exactly.
These other people don't have as much to sell, so they're selling other people's stuff.
Right.
But when you have something valuable to sell and you're interviewing people that either might want to directly work with you or know somebody that can, the money is made not from traditional media means, but through getting high-value clients, selling services to them. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm curious about this high ticket thing. So it's something I recently started getting into. I recently took on a mentor, and I'm learning a lot about the whole high ticket game.
Yeah.
Tell me about high ticket. I don't want to ask specific questions just yet. Just tell me about what high ticket means to you, how you got into it.
Yeah. So high ticket essentially just means selling a service that has a dream outcome attached and is getting somebody from where they want to be, from where they are to where they ultimately want to be, right? So high ticket can really mean anything. It could be coaching, consulting, agency services, whatever it might be. Like if you're selling Facebook advertising services for $2,000 a month on, let's say, a 3-month commitment to start, that's $6,000. That's considered high ticket.
Yeah.
So I consider high ticket generally something that's at least a few $1,000s up to tens of thousands of dollars, that sort of thing. I mean, I got started in high ticket when I learned to charge appropriately for my marketing services, like when I started selling my, ads, when I was doing just predominantly like social media advertising services and doing everything for everyone. That's kind of how I got started in high ticket was, okay, this retainer is going to be $1,500 a month, $2,000 a month, whatever it might be. I would say I became more involved in the terminology of high ticket when I started selling coaching. So in between everything that I've done, a few years ago, I was selling personal brand coaching. That's when I started doing that. And I would sell a program that was $3,000 or $5,000. And that was very different than my agency offer because I was just selling one-on-one coaching basically with a course attached to it, right? So high ticket is, in my mind, anything that's helping somebody achieve a certain outcome. It could be having to do with making more money, bettering your relationships, losing weight. Those are like the three main reasons people buy a high ticket. It's because the main three reasons people are buying high ticket is either you're going to help them make more money, you're going to help them be in better health, or you're going to help them with their relationships or the opposite sex.
Health, wealth, relationships. Russell Brunson. I
Yeah.
don't know. Do you have any kind of mentors, or who taught you this type of stuff? Did you ever invest in a high ticket coursing at first in order for you to learn this, or did you?
Yeah, man, 100%. So I would say the first high ticket, I've been in multiple programs at this point. The first one that I was in was is basically just teaching me how to better sell coaching when I was doing more personal brand coaching. I spent like, I don't know, $5,000 or $6,000 on that. And then what was the next one? I joined Alex Becker's program, which was like a YouTube ads thing, which didn't end up working out, but I learned a lot of things from it. That was the first one, actually. That one was like $3,000 or $5,000. And then from there, I hopped into another one that was like $5,000 or $6,000. And then a few months ago, I invested into one that was $18,000, you know? So I am a believer in paying people to help save you time as a means to making money faster and getting to where you want to be faster. It's either you can learn all these things through trial and error, or you can work with an expert that has a wealth of knowledge who can get you to where you want to be so much faster. You can't get your time back, you know? So it's all about figuring out ways to, you know, be as successful as possible in a time frame that feels most authentic to you.
I recently invested in my first high ticket, and that was a rush. Do you remember what it was like when you first committed to making a high ticket purchase, and were you nervous about it?
A little bit. I mean, I remember getting on like my first strategy session, you know, or whatever we call it. And he was like, it's $5,000. And I was like, dude, there's no way I'm going to put up $5,000 for this. Not that I didn't have it at the time, but I was just like, dude, I wasn't used to spending that kind of money on anything, you know? But he gave me like an irresistible offer, which was like, hey, instead of $5,000 a month, I mean, $5,000 total, we can do $1,000 a month. And within 90 days, if you feel like you're not getting a lot of value out of it, you can like tell us that you want a refund and we'll give it to you. It was like a no-brainer offer.
Yeah.
I don't advise my clients having offers like that. But at the time, the guy running it, Alex Becker, he had so much freaking money anyway, like he didn't really even care, right? So it was exciting. It wasn't like a huge investment. But the other programs I made afterwards were bigger investments. But at the end of the day, it's just like when you're in this world, the more money you spend on this stuff, the less exciting or crazy it seems, you know? It's like, okay, like this is a sizable amount of money, but at the end of the day, this is going to help me get to where I want to be, and I'm confident in that. And it pushes you to succeed because you're investing in that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And a big part of that is, you know, you also can't, it's hard to ask somebody for a large amount of money if you've never actually paid it yourself.
Yeah.
Right? And there's like breaking down that mental barrier of like, well, I can ask you because I believe in this myself so much that I've done similar things.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that, man. The more that I've invested in myself, the more I invest in myself, the easier I can make it seem for other people.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, this is investing in yourself. At the end of the day, like, this is where you're going to go as a result of that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I would say that it does become easier to sell a higher ticket. One, after you've sold high ticket on a regular basis, you know, for a while, and it becomes more normal. But also, yeah, there is that barrier, which is, okay, like, I bought several things that were $5,000. So to me, $5,000 isn't a big deal. And when I have that type of energy on a sales call, people won't see it as such a daunting thing either.
Yeah. Another aspect is it's a mindset shift from a lot of people that are just getting into the entrepreneur space.
Yeah.
The way I see it, because people that have an income, typically W-2 type income, and they're on a salary, their income is a pie chart, right? A limited fixed pie chart where every sliver you take out takes out a piece of that pie. And when you're on an entrepreneurial journey,
Yeah.
it's no longer a fixed pie. It's literally just inputs and outputs. So people have this mindset, need to have this mindset shift of I'm now an entrepreneur, and if I can find a way to put $1 in and get $5 out on the other end, then it's a good investment. And instead of I'm putting $1 in and taking out of my $100 that I have.
Yeah, it's a different mindset. And this is a very interesting point. But yeah, people that are not entrepreneurs are less likely to invest in themselves. And that's just like kind of that's just what I've experienced. Or people that have just recently started their businesses are less likely to invest in themselves because they're scared. They have that level of uncertainty, you know? So at least in my own positioning, like I generally don't take on beginners anymore. When I was selling, let's say, personal brand coaching back in the day, like I would work with anybody, no matter what income level they were at. But nowadays, it's like when I'm working with somebody, I want to make sure they're at least a certain amount of income level in their own business because, well, for several reasons. One is because if you're already making money as an entrepreneur, the money that you spend on, let's say, my program, you're going to be less stressed about it.
Yeah.
Right? There's a difference between a stretch investment and a stress investment. Right? When you invest with a coach, you want it to feel like a stretch, but not feel overly stressed about it, right? So nowadays, I primarily want to work with people that have already had some level of success in business. Their offers are validated. They're more likely to get results because I build my brand off of other people's results. You know, I want people to get great results because through word of mouth, using them as testimonials, whatever it might be. But yeah, selling to newbies, as we call them, is difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some tactics, tangible things that people can do to increase their high ticket sales ability? Or their ability to convert an intro offer that you make on stage, $99 offer, to something higher on the back end? What are some techniques that you have found helpful and useful?
Just from like a sales standpoint, like they're on a sales call?
Well, in general, you've got these $99 sales. And how are you converting them to a higher ticket client on the back?
Yeah. So really the fact of the matter is that they're booking this $99 call because they have an interest in what I'm doing and the methodologies that I teach. And they want to grow their business, right? So I'm getting them on a call where they're already sort of in the mindset, for example, of doing events, right? So on the sales call, it's really just about understanding, you know, what does this person need help with? What's going right in their life? What's going wrong in their life? Where do they ultimately want to be in their business? And a lot of the time, my sales calls are just really figuring out what would it look like if you were to do events, right? I'm saying this as it relates to my offer, but like when I'm on a call, first I want to like understand where this person wants to be, what they're struggling with, why events could work for them as a way to grow their business, and really just figuring out like what would that look like? You know, like who would you target? What would your offer be? How can you sell this offer? How can you scale that or get multiple clients a month through a local event? So it's really getting them in the mindset of helping them believe in a way that they can grow their business through events if they are a good fit. Not everybody's a good fit, right? So it's just as I'm trying to qualify them at the same time to understand, is this somebody that could have success with events? If it is, then we talk more about, you know, how could that really work? And then what I think is incredibly important is to have an offer doc that breaks down your offer in a very detailed way. Like, for example, it's basically public information, but I have an offer doc for my offer, right? I have a VSL, and then which is like a 15-minute video that breaks down how I get my clients' results, and then I have an offer doc. And that offer doc basically breaks down, these are all the core parts to my solution. So just advice for anybody selling is know exactly what you're selling, know the ins and outs of that offer and how that offer can specifically help people get results. Because that offer doc has made me so much money, because it takes me maybe 5-10 minutes to go through that offer doc. Well, they can ask questions at any point if they, have questions about any point, but it is so exhaustive that by the end, like, it's completely clear what I offer.
Mm-hmm.
And there's less questions about that. It's then becomes more about, well, how likely am I going to be successful doing this, or what it might be. So I think the biggest thing when you're selling is clarity.
Clarity.
Have clarity in who you're talking to, what their problems are, what their struggles are, where they ultimately want to get to. And if you feel like your offer is a good fit for them, then there's got to be, when you get to that next stage of, when you're presenting that offer, because I kind of approach it as like from a doctor standpoint. Like, there's a lot of similarities between going to the doctor and having a sales call. What do you do when you get into a doctor? What do you do when you get to a doctor's appointment? Do they just prescribe you something? No, they ask you a ton of questions.
A lot of questions.
What are you currently doing to solve this problem? How has it been for you? What does it feel like? All those sort of things. So salespeople need to have that same mentality when they're on a call with a prospect, which is understand whether this person is actually a good fit. And then if they are, then talk about your solution. Because for one, it allows you to better qualify them. But the most important thing is you're making them feel heard and understood. Mm-hmm. A lot of salespeople have such a bad rep for being sleazy, manipulative, blah, blah, blah. When you ask good questions, which crushes two birds in one stone, because you're building that sense of rapport with them. But at the same time, you're also figuring out, is this person even a good fit for my offer?
Yeah.
Because the last thing you want to do is enroll people into your offer that aren't a good fit at all. Mm-hmm. Right? So I would say people need to stop presenting and start asking questions, figuring out what is going on with the people that they're talking to and how they could potentially serve them. Then at that point, have your offer ready.
Yeah.
So clarity in the prospect situation and also clarity in what you're selling. That's very important.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm curious about, you talk a lot about this, so let's hit it a little harder about free versus paid events.
Yeah.
And so obviously, if you're going to do free, then you're going to get a lot more registrants.
Yeah.
If you're going to get paid, your cost per registrant is going to go up because it's harder to get someone to convert on a paid.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So my first question is, does it tend to be profitable on the front end, or do you tend to aim to break even on the front end?
Well, let's first talk about why free events are a bad idea.
Okay.
And I love this question.
Yeah.
And the main reason is that people don't sell tickets to their events because they can't, or they don't believe that they can. Because if you believe that you could charge money for tickets and get a bunch of people there, you would do it, right? But you can only sell a bunch of tickets to a paid event if you have really good marketing, right? So if you do a free event, what's going to happen is, let's put this into perspective, all right? So this event, it's not one of my biggest events, but I'll probably sell 50 tickets to this whole thing, right? Let's say it was free. I would probably sell about 250 registered. So if it was free, I'd probably get 250 people. 70% of them wouldn't show up.
Correct, yeah.
And the other 80 or so, how many of them didn't pay to be there? That creates a liability concern, because who's going to show up to my event?
Yeah.
Paying for an event, paying to be at an event creates a barrier. It's going to bring in higher quality people, which is really important. Because when you are at an event and you're with other people that paid to be there, you're going to have a better experience. And as somebody hosting the event, you're just going to have a better quality of people to shake hands with, right? You can't shake hands with everybody when there's 100 people in the room at a free event. But when there's less people at a paid event, you can shake everybody's hands, develop better relationships, that sort of thing. The other thing is that, if you want to blow up your events and create a really amazing business model and make it profitable, like, charging for tickets covers a lot of costs, right? Like, if my events were free, I would probably not be running ads right now, right? The reason that I can continue to invest in ads, part of the reason that every $1,000 I spend on ads makes me $10,000 in revenue is based on the ticket sales, right? So for one, ticket sales help cover the costs, but two, if my events were free, I just feel like I would also get less clients.
Yeah.
Because you're just going to get a lot of people there that I really don't want to meet. Like, if you can't spend $30, $40, $50 to attend an event, then is that somebody that you really want to be around anyway? Is that something your attendees are going to want to be around, right? So that paying for an event is like, it does so much good for everyone, because the people that actually pay to be there are going to, well, when you create an environment where people pay to be there, you're going to meet other people that obviously paid to be there. So it's going to be a higher quality. People are going to be more engaged in the event because they paid to be there, right? They want to meet people, right? Not just eat all the free food and leave, right? And also, as a business owner, it just makes sense because it helps cover costs. It helps cover all the ads. It can help cover the venue costs, all of that. And it puts you in a position where you're just meeting with people that are serious about meeting other people.
Yeah.
And they might even become a client of yours.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Quick funny story.
Mm-hmm.
I did my first event actually probably about a month ago at this point.
Yeah.
And it was a free event.
Yeah.
And very similar process, running ads, getting free registrants, having people show up. About 30% actually showed up. I think it might have been a little bit higher. Maybe
That's why I said 70% don't show up or whatever. Yeah.
It might have been a little higher.
Yeah.
And a funny thing is I think I had some homeless people there.
Yeah.
I think so, because I had free pizza. So I think I had like homeless people show up for the pizza, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's a really big part of it. Question for you though. Have you ever experimented or thought about doing a higher ticket, like a $200 workshop or something like that?
I have. I told you about my second event and I pitched a workshop. I've sold, okay, so I just kind of know my business model somewhat well, or I would say pretty well. And when I pitch a workshop, I get a lot of people, for example, I was going to do a workshop, a few months ago. And when I do a workshop, it brings in people that think they can just implement this funnel on themselves and want to do it themselves. When people really do need the support, it's not just running ads, it's the copywriting, it's marketing the event, it's Eventbrite pages, it's all the little quirks and little things, right? And for me, if I were to do a workshop and teach them all of these things,
I see.
That would be cool, but they would just, go out and do it themselves, which is fine. But for me, like, I don't want to spend all my time just making a couple thousand off a workshop when instead I could just, for people that just want to learn all this stuff on their own. But even then, there's like so many small pieces to this.
Yeah.
Like when I work with my clients, like they really know how many things are going on that make this all work, as successful as it does. So the workshop idea is interesting, but I feel like my ideal clients, they don't want to attend a workshop. They just want to get on a call with somebody and learn exactly how this works and how they can potentially work with me.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting. Workshops are really good for people that sell more like a one-on-one coaching and stuff where people are implementing things themselves. But for me, the workshop model, at least at this point, hasn't worked particularly well, and it's not a direction I really want to go in because it just brings in the wrong kinds of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing you talk about, one of the benefits of running these events is that you can actually grow your personal brand and grow your Instagram,
100%.
things like that. And
Yeah.
we know these days that these things are like social currency. There's actually like not even social currency, but physical currency.
Yeah.
When you can grow your brand and grow your social media.
Yes.
So how do you use events to grow your social media?
Yeah, it's very straightforward. So, for example, what I use, the strategies that I use and what I help my clients with is the messaging. So the strategy that I do and I help my clients with is basically when you're advertising your events community, basically what you do is you select a community, you pick a type of community that you want to build. For example, I'm building mine around entrepreneurship, bringing a bunch of entrepreneurs together. I have people that focus specifically on e-commerce, building an e-commerce community. I have clients that focus on, bringing together investors, bringing together people in real estate, that sort of thing. So really the strategy is that to grow this email list, you're putting out a video ad on Facebook and Instagram and even TikTok saying, hey, for example, in San Diego, I could say, hey, San Diego, if you are interested in, learning how to market and grow your business through Facebook ads, you should subscribe to my events list. I'm hosting events all in the area, teaching you how to grow your business, get more leads, turn those into clients. And you're also going to meet other business owners that want to do the same thing. If you're interested, go to my website, submit your contact information, and I'll let you know when the next event is happening. So you're always building this list, right? And when you're putting this ad out there and running it, you're going to get a ton of Instagram followers. So for example, if you spent, let's say, $1,000 on Facebook ads and Instagram ads, and you got, let's say, 500 people on your email list, you'd also probably get about 500 Instagram followers.
Wow.
So it's a way to build your Instagram following and your email list and your text message list all at the same time. Because yeah, when I started running ads, I think I was at like 4,200 followers, and now I'm at like
7,500.
Yeah, 7,500 or 7,800, whatever it is, you know. And that's a lot. And not only are people getting on my email list or following me on social media, they're looking at my stories, and I get recognized, you know, especially when I wear these glasses out in public. A lot of people know who I am. A lot of people are following me. Like it's not fame yet, but it could very well turn into that.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we got about 10 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
It went
Okay.
by really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of questions for you.
Yeah.
First is, are you big into reading? Are you big into books? And if you
Yeah.
are, do you have one book that you gift more often than others?
Yes. I love reading books. How my strategy is I kind of focus on one book at a time, 1, 2, or 3 books, and I just read them over and over and over again.
That's huge.
Yeah.
People do that. A lot of times people will read a book and then they just sometimes it's enough in one book to grow your business to 7 figures, but you don't implement any of it. You kind of like take 1 or 2 lines of it, which is good also.
Yeah.
But sometimes like going back and like really extracting all of that data and then focusing on implementing it is a really powerful strategy.
Yeah, and a lot of information just goes over your head. Like after you read a book, how much of it do you actually retain?
Yeah.
Maybe 10, 15%, right?
Yeah, if that.
Do you going to ask me what books I recommend?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my number one that I'm reading and studying and listening to as much as I possibly can is Psycho-Cybernetics.
Psycho-Cybernetics.
Yep, it's an amazing book. Have you heard of it?
No.
I'm amazed that you haven't heard of that book. Yeah, it's basically like the self-development Bible. It really talks about how your reality and what you get out of your life is a reflection of let me repeat that. Basically, what you get out of your life and the results are a reflection of your own self-image and the way that you think about yourself.
Okay.
So it's like if you can see yourself as this aspirational version of yourself, of who you want to become, and you make that a part of who you are, it will eventually become your reality.
Interesting.
That's the gist of it. So it's like from that book, a big thing that I've taken away is just sort of like visualizing every single day, you know, making note of how much money I want to make, who I want to be around, you know, all that. Before that, you know, $40,000 month that I had last month, I was sitting on my bed every day, even throughout that month, just like visualizing the succeeded Stripe payments, you know, every
Nice.
day. What would that feel like? Having this amount coming in, having that amount coming in. I visualized, you know, before my first event in Orange County, like I visualized 100 people being at that event. Like I knew I could get 100 people there. So I think visualization is a really important feeling to have. Well, I think visualization is a really important practice to do, and the feelings that are associated with that, and just putting yourself in a state of like, my future isn't here quite yet, but if I can feel it right now and be in a very positive mindset, I can attract that. So Psycho-Cybernetics, amazing book. Another book I recommend is The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. Have you heard of that book?
No.
Yeah, I've gone through that book a lot too, but that's just more about just like that book's more about building a relationship with God and really embodying God in what you're doing and having a more positive outlook on things. So that's been incredibly important because for a lot of us entrepreneurs, we're on our own, you know, and that can be pretty stressful, and, you know, we need somebody to lean on, and having a higher power to lean on is especially important.
Yeah.
So it's a very, you know, objective, rational way of looking at religion and a relationship with God to get results in your life. So I would say those were the big 2 ones, Psycho-Cybernetics and The Power of Positive Thinking. I also really like Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. I'm a huge fan of his work. I haven't dove into his books as of recent, but Becoming Supernatural, great book. I did a lot of those meditations. Those helped me out a lot. But that's more about like being clear about what you want and then visualizing that future success and feeling as if it's happening right now.
Yeah.
Because that's the law of attraction in action.
Absolutely. One last question is, If you could have a billboard,
Yeah.
put it right in Times Square, millions and millions of people can see it, what's one message you'd love to get out there to all these different people?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Deep question, I know, kind of on the spot, but if anything comes to mind.
Yeah, well, as soon as you said that, I had a phrase come into my mind, and I think I know what I want to say, which is, you are enough. You are enough, which is, we put so much pressure on ourselves. We put an unbelievable amount of pressure on ourselves, at least us entrepreneurs, to succeed. And just to know that, just do the best that you can.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. And that's coming back to another book that I really like, The 4 Agreements.
Mm-hmm.
One of the main parts of that book is just like, do your best. Do your best and try to let go of any attachment to outcomes or what people might think. You are enough, and that basically means you are enough when you are actively trying to do your best to show up for yourself every single day.
Yeah.
That's really important. Another quote, just my favorite quote of all time, is action creates clarity. It kind of goes with what people are saying right now, which is the more you fuck around, the more you find out.
I like
sort
that
of thing.
one. I like that one. I like that one. That's a good one too.
Yeah. So just like in my own life, like the more action I take on things, the more clear results and paths in my life. Well, let me repeat that. The more action I take in my life, the more things become clear around where I want to go and how I should do certain things. Mm-hmm. For example, when I started, running those social media ads, I had no idea what this would turn into. I didn't know it would turn into, a full-fledged event marketing company, me doing events, in different cities, multiple events every single month, getting the types of results that I have for myself and my clients. But it's just like, you just got to start. And the more you start, the more things start to become clear in your life around what you should be doing.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any aspirations to do like huge events, like Grant Cardone style events with like thousands of people? Something, because it's a scalable, right? Like you could just spend more money on ads, get a bigger venue, these types of things. Is it something that you're
my ego does. My ego wants to.
I mean,
I'm talking in front of all these people, this and that. Look, I've kind of, I think in business it's very important to have a niche. And I believe my niche are what we call top of funnel events.
I see.
Which is do local events because they cost a lot less. They're very lean. They're much easier to make profitable. And you can have a very streamlined way to get clients. Mm-hmm. So in my own mind, like if I were going to do like a very big event, like that would be really cool. But it just seems like a headache, man.
Yeah.
Have a big venue. How much is that going to cost? I got to worry about having all of the staff. All of these things I got to take care of, all of that. So it's interesting. I would like to speak at a big event, but for me personally, like
you got your niche, you got your.
I like what I do, man. Yeah. It's fun. It literally solves all of my problems, mainly from a business standpoint. I can do 2 of these events every single month. They're easy to set up. They don't cost a lot to run. I can make money off them. I can get clients from them. Yeah. And at the same time, like I'm still continuously building my personal brand because my ads are always everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm getting all the benefits without like a lot of the headache of doing a big event, unless I really wanted to do like an event business, where my main business was selling tickets to events. Mm-hmm. But as I've said, in either videos or whatever, 80% of my revenue doesn't even come from events. It comes from the clients that I get from the events. So it just, it's not really that interesting to me, to be honest. It sounds cool. Maybe like a weekend intimate mastermind thing, maybe for like $1,000 or $2. That sounds interesting. But dude, when I look at like those Aspire events that like Dan Fleshman is doing, I'm like, yo, props to you, man. Cause like it's hard to do that. That's a lot, And for me, it's like that's not my business model. That's not the direction I necessarily want to go in. Yeah. But I love it. It's just at this point, it doesn't really feel like it's right for me.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, Alec, it's been super awesome, super insightful, a lot of really practical tips that people can really dive into. Mm-hmm. I just want to say to everyone, if you're not following Alec already, I highly recommend it. He's on Alec Mountain on Instagram and YouTube and all that kind of stuff. Do you think people should follow my YouTube channel? Should that be something that people do?
Follow your YouTube channel or my YouTube channel?
Mine.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. I think YouTube is a really great way to nurture your audience.
Yeah.
because on Instagram Reels are kind of like saying, hey, like, I like what this person is saying, this and that. But when somebody's binge watching your YouTube content, it's so much easier to build a lot more trust with them.
Yeah.
For me, I just have like so many different directions that I should go in and things to spend my time. But yeah, but I would make that YouTube channel. Sure, follow your podcast, but what I would recommend is you do Facebook ads, right? You help people with Facebook ads. Make a YouTube channel based around Facebook ads. You know, and that way you can advertise to your audience on Facebook, Instagram. Check out my YouTube channel. And if they're checking out your YouTube channel and watching videos on Facebook ads, somebody that's watched your YouTube channel for 10 hours, that's a very highly qualified lead.
Absolutely.
So it's just a way to nurture people in a way that short form content can't. So I think the short term, long term blend is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. It's been an amazing episode of another episode of the A-Lister Show. Subscribe to the channel. We're going to have amazing top tier guests all the time. Thank you so much, Alec, for being a part of this show. And I'm going to be at the event and I'm talk to you guys about the event and how it was then too. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. See you next time.